Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to be doing 9.5, but what we need to do first is we need to do a little review of things we've already talked about. So right here we have two binomials multiplied together. So we have two terms on each of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a box, a 2 by 2 box, and I'm going to put x minus 3 here and x plus 4 here. Now to solve this, we would just multiply these out. We get x squared, we get 4x, negative 3x, and negative 12. Then what I can do is add these together because they have the same ending. So we get x squared plus x minus 12. So I went through that a little bit quickly, but this should be a review for us. It's going to help us in what we do today. Also, we talked about diamond problems. I gave you that option to do those problems. I told you it was going to come back, and so today it's going to come back, and we're going to see how we do this. So remember, at the top, we have two numbers that are being multiplied. At the bottom, we need two numbers that are being added. So what two numbers are multiplied to get 50? Well, I know 25 and 2, 5 and 10, and 1 and 50. Now, remember they have to add up to 15. So the only one that I see is 5 and 10 that's going to add up to 15. So I'm going to put 5 here, 10 here. They add up to 15, multiply to 50. So we are going to use both these skills as we continue on 9.5 today. Alright, so 9.5, we are factoring now, but we are factoring ax squared plus bx plus c. So if we take a look at our first problem, our ax squared is 1x squared, our bx is 11x, and our c is 18. Now we're going to use one of these diamond problems to help us solve this. So we start with ax squared. Now c is touching it, so it's times c. So we need to multiply ax squared times c. So we have a and c. Now 1 times 18, that's going to give us 18x squared. Then we look at bx, and I know I can add that down here, 11x. So now we need to figure out what dx and ex is. Now remember, this is the first step to solving this problem. So these kind of take a little bit, but it's easiest to see them all written out before you can solve it. So what we need to figure out is what two numbers can go into 8 or multiply to 18 and add to 11. Well, I know 1 and 18 adds together. I know 2 and 9 adds together. Now, what numbers add together to make 11? Well, 1 and 18 don't, but 2 and 9 do. So what we're going to make here is 2x and 9x. Both of these multiply together to get to 18x. They also add together to get to 11x. So over in the box now, what we are going to put is our ax squared. And we said our ax squared was 1x squared. Our dx we figured was 2x. Our ex we figured was 9x. And our c was 18. So if we multiply these together, well, what times what is going to give us 1x squared? Well, I know that 1 times 1 is going to give me 1. And I know that we need two x's, so an x here and an x here. Now 1x, what is going to multiply to 2? Well, I need a 2 there. Now we already have the x here, so we don't need an x with the 2. What times 1x is going to give me 9x? Well, I know that's 9. We already have the x, so we don't need the x. And then 9 times 2 gives us 18, so we know that we did this correctly. So our answer now in factored form would be 1x plus 9 times 1x plus 2. Alright, let's try another one. Here we have x squared plus 3x plus 2. Our ax is 1. So what we're going to do is ax squared times c. So 1 times 2 is going to give us 2x squared. Our bx goes on the bottom, so 3x goes there. Now we need to figure out what times what is going to add up to, or what times what is going to give us 2 and then add up to 3. So I just know 1 and 2. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 plus 2 is 3. So I know that we are going to use 1x and 2x. So again, ax squared, we remember ax was 1x squared, so we're going to put 1x squared here. Dx we found was 1x. Ex we said was 2x, and c we said was 2. So we need to figure out what multiplies together to get these. So I know that I need 2 x's. And how can I get 1? Well, I can multiply 1 times 1. So what times 1 is going to give me 1? Well, I know that's going to be 1. And we already have the x, so I know it's just 1x plus 1. What times 1 is going to give me 2? Well, it's going to be a 2. We already have the x, so I don't need that. And then 2 times 1 is going to give me 2. So our answer here then is 1x plus 2 times 1x plus 1. Alright, now we've got a couple trinomials here. Ax, so 1t squared, and 12, we're going to multiply together. So what we get is then 12t squared. Bx is going to be negative 8x. Now what times what is going to give me 12? Well, I know 1 and 12 will, 3 and 4 will, and 2 and 6 will. So I'm looking to get negative 8. So what can I multiply by or add together to get to negative 8? Well, if I put a negative 2 and a negative 6, negative 2 plus negative 6 is going to give me negative 8. Negative 2 times negative 6 is going to give me 12. So I know that negative 2x and negative 6x are our numbers. So remember what goes in the first box is our ax squared. So, oh, I forgot to change these numbers, or these variables, to t. So ax squared is going to be 1t squared. Dx we found was negative 2t. Ex was negative 6t. and c we found was 12. So what times what is going to give me 1t squared? Well, I know 1t and 1t will give me 1t squared. What times 1 is going to give me negative 2? Well, negative 2. And I already have a t, so I don't need that. What times 1 is going to give me negative 6? Well, that's going to be negative 6. And we already have the t. And negative 6 times negative 2 is going to give me 12. So our answer then would be 1t minus 2 times 1t minus 6. 6. I'm going to make these a little better. They look like H's. So 1t and 1t. Here, I want you guys to try this next one on your own. Remember, ax, the x's are now a's. And we have a bx in the middle. Alright, now we have to solve a polynomial equation. So what we need to do first is we need to look and see, well, this one equals 0. So what we're going to need to do first is factor, and then we can solve. So we have ax squared and 21. Ax squared times 21 is going to give me 21x squared. Bx is negative 10, so negative 10x. Now what times what is going to give me 21? Well, I know 1 and 21. I also know 7 and 3. But what could give me negative 10 if I add them together? Well, I know negative 7 and negative 3 could work. So negative 7x and negative 3x. So ax squared, so 1x squared goes in the middle, or the first box. Dx, we found negative 7x. Ex was negative 3x. And c was 21. So what we have then is 1x and 1x. 1 times negative 7 is going to give me negative 7. And we already have the x, so we don't need that. And then what times 1 is going to give me negative 3? Well, it's going to be negative 3. So then what our problem is 1x minus 7 and 1x minus 3 equals 0. So when we solve this for 0, one of these has to equal 0. So what I'm going to do is take 1x minus 7 equals 0, and 1x minus 3 equals 0. Here we're going to add 7, and we get 1x, or just x, equals 7. That's 1, 0. The other one, we're going to add 3, and we get x equals 3. So our two zeros are x equals 7 and x equals 3. Alright, I want you guys to try the next one. Remember, factor it out first, then set your numbers equal to 0. Alright, so this one says x squared minus 10 times x minus 1 equals negative 11. So what we need to do is we need to multiply them out first. So what we're going to do is multiply this negative 10 by x and the negative 10 by negative 1. So what we'll get is x squared minus 10x plus 10 equals negative 11. Now to solve these, we need to have them equal to 0. So what I'm going to do is move this 11 over to the other side so I can get rid of that and make 0. So what I'm going to have then is x squared minus 10x plus 21. So now I can factor this out. Remember, ax squared times c goes on the top. So 1x squared times 21 gives me 21x squared. Bx is in the middle. That goes on the bottom, negative 10x. And then what we need to find out is dx and ex. What times 21, or what times what is going to give me 21? Well, 1 and 21. 7 and 3. If I have a negative 10, I know that negative 7 and negative 3 will add up to negative 10 and multiply to 21. So then if we draw our box here, ax squared is going to be 1x squared. Dx we found was negative 7x. Ex was negative 3x. And c was, we ended up with 21. So 1x times 1x is going to give me 1x squared. 1 times negative 7 will give me negative 7. 1 times negative 3 will give me negative 3. And negative 3 times 7 gives us 21. So then we have 1x minus 3 times 1x minus 7 equals 0. So we set these equal to 0. 1x minus 3 equals 0. And 1x minus 7 equals 0. Add 3. Add 7. And x equals 3, or x equals 7. Are two zeros. Alright, try this one on your own. Remember to multiply out completely. So you are going to come up with a trinomial. If we take a look at this one, we need to find the zeros of the polynomial function. So what we have here is h of x. We're just going to imagine that as 0. So we need ax squared times c, which gives us 1x times 32, which is actually going to give us 32x squared. Oh, I can't write this 32 here. 32x squared. Oh, I still can't write it. Sorry, guys. 32x squared. There we go. And we have a negative 18x. Well, what goes into 32? Well, 1 and 32 goes there. 2 and 16. I think that's it. So I'm going to have a negative 2 and a negative 16 to give me negative 18. So negative 2x and negative 16x. So then if we factor this out, we're going to have 1x squared. Dx will be negative 2x. Ex negative 16x. And c a positive 32. 1x times 1x will give me 1x squared. Negative 2x times 1x give me negative 2x. negative 16x, oh, not x, just negative 16. And then negative 16 times negative 2 gives you a positive 32. So we come up with 1x minus 2 and 1x minus 16 equals 0. So 1x minus 2 equals 0, and 1x minus 16 equals 0. Add 2. X is going to be 2. Add 16. And x is going to be 16. So 2 and 16 is our answer. Just like before, try the next one on your own. Solve it for 0. Alright, so it says a community center is building a patio area with along 2 sides of its pool. The pool is rectangular with a width of 50 feet and a length of 100 feet. The patio area will have the same width on each side of the pool. Write a polynomial that represents the combined area of the pool and the patio area. Well, if we are looking for the combined area, we know that how we find the area is length times width. So the length here is going to be x plus 100, and the width is going to be x plus 50. So our polynomial then will just be x plus 100 and x plus 50. If we multiplied that out, we would probably have to draw a box. So x times x gives us x squared. 100. Oh. Let me erase that and try that one again. X times 100 is 100x. And x times 50 is 50x. Then 50 times 100 gives us 5,000. So if we write that out then, we have to combine the 50 and the 100x, and we're going to get x squared plus 150x plus 5,000. Sorry, it's hard to see. I don't have much room on here. So now it says the combined area of the pool and the patio area should be 8,400 square feet. How wide should the patio area be? Well, I know that combined area is x squared plus 150x plus 5,000. They want it to be 8,400. So then what we need to do is take this 8,400, subtract it and move it over so we can set it equal to 0. So we get 0 and x squared plus 150x minus 3,400 equals 0. Then we would need to factor that out to figure out what x is going to be. And I want you guys to do that on your own. and then show me your answer when you're done.